South America is one of the most recognizable continents on the world map, a vast landmass tapering from the tropics toward the cold waters near Antarctica. It lies entirely in the Western Hemisphere, and most of it sits south of the equator, which is why it is commonly described as the southern part of the Americas. But South America is more than a shape on a map. It is a continent of enormous contrasts: rainforest and desert, megacities and empty plains, Spanish and Portuguese colonial legacies, indigenous civilizations, European migration, African influence, and some of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. Understanding South America means looking at how location, geography, population, and history all connect. Geographically, South America is framed by oceans and powerful natural boundaries. The Pacific Ocean runs along its western edge, where the continent meets deep ocean trenches and the towering Andes. To the north and east lies the Atlantic Ocean, shaping coastlines that became gateways for colonization, trade, and migration. To the northwest are North America and the Caribbean Sea, linking South America to the wider Americas. To the far south, the continent narrows toward the Drake Passage, one of the roughest stretches of ocean in the world, separating South America from Antarctica. These surrounding waters helped define South America's identity, trade routes, climate patterns, and historical connections. Politically, South America contains 12 sovereign countries: Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname, Uruguay, and Venezuela. It also includes dependent territories such as the Falkland Islands and South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, as well as French Guiana, an overseas territory of France on the continent's northeastern coast. Some nearby islands and territories are sometimes connected to South America through geology or regional geography, including Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, Trinidad and Tobago, Panama, Ascension Island, and Bouvet Island. This makes the continent's borders more complex than a simple classroom map suggests, because political, geological, and cultural definitions do not always match perfectly. South America is the fourth largest continent by area, covering about 17.84 million square kilometers, or roughly 6.89 million square miles. It ranks behind Asia, Africa, and North America in size, but it still contains some of the largest natural systems on the planet. Its population was estimated at more than 434 million people in 2021, making it the fifth most populous continent. Yet that population is not spread evenly. Huge areas of rainforest, mountains, deserts, wetlands, and cold southern lands remain thinly populated, while coastal regions and major river corridors contain many of the continent's largest cities and economic centers. The Andes dominate western South America. Stretching along the Pacific side of the continent, they form the world's longest continental mountain range. These mountains influence nearly everything around them: climate, settlement, agriculture, transportation, and culture. In many places, the Andes create barriers that separate coastal lands from interior basins. They also produce high-altitude environments where societies adapted over thousands of years, from terraced farming to cities built in thin mountain air. Countries such as Chile, Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Colombia, and Argentina are deeply shaped by the Andes, whether through mining, water systems, tourism, or the historic legacy of indigenous civilizations that thrived in the highlands. In contrast, eastern South America contains vast lowlands and enormous river systems. The Amazon River Basin is the most famous, covering a huge portion of northern and central South America and supporting the largest tropical rainforest on Earth. The Orinoco River system shapes parts of Venezuela and Colombia, while the Parana River system helps define major agricultural and urban regions farther south. These rivers are not just physical features, they are transportation routes, ecological engines, sources of food and fresh water, and foundations for settlement. The continent's interior may be less densely populated than its coasts, but its rivers make it globally important for biodiversity, climate, and natural resources. Climate is another reason South America feels like a continent of extremes. Much of it lies in the tropics, meaning warm temperatures, dense vegetation, and strong seasonal rainfall in many regions. But the continent also includes the dry Atacama Desert in Chile, among the driest places on Earth, and the temperate lands of the southern cone, including much of Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. Farther south, Patagonia brings colder winds, glaciers, and sparse settlement. The continent's climate is shaped by latitude, altitude, ocean currents, and mountains, creating everything from steamy rainforest to icy southern landscapes within one continuous landmass. People in South America are concentrated in particular areas, especially near the western and eastern coasts. This pattern reflects geography and history. Coastal cities connected more easily to overseas trade during the colonial period and later became centers of government, finance, migration, and industry. Meanwhile, the interior often presented challenges such as dense forest, rugged mountains, disease environments, or limited infrastructure. This does not mean the interior is empty or unimportant. Indigenous communities, rural populations, resource towns, and agricultural frontiers all play major roles. But from Buenos Aires to Lima, São Paulo to Rio de Janeiro, coastal and near-coastal regions have shaped much of the continent's modern urban life. Brazil is the giant of South America. It is by far the continent's most populous country, holding almost half of South America's people. It also accounts for roughly half of the continent's economic output, making it the region's main economic and political power. Its size alone is extraordinary. Brazil covers a massive portion of eastern and central South America and includes major cities, Amazon rainforest, agricultural regions, industrial centers, and a long Atlantic coastline. Because of its population, economy, and territory, Brazil often has a different scale of influence from its neighbors. When South America is discussed in global politics, climate policy, agriculture, or trade, Brazil is almost always central to the conversation. After Brazil, several other countries play major roles in the continent's population and identity. Colombia, Argentina, Venezuela, and Peru are among the most populous. Colombia sits at a crossroads between South America, Central America, the Caribbean, the Pacific, and the Atlantic world. Argentina is known for its large temperate plains, major cities, and strong European migration history. Venezuela has major oil reserves and a Caribbean-facing identity. Peru connects the Pacific coast, the Andes, and the Amazon, while also carrying the legacy of the Inca Empire. Each country has its own geography and history, so South America is not a single cultural bloc, even when it shares broad regional patterns. South America's cultural and ethnic landscape was shaped by deep interaction and conflict among indigenous peoples, European conquerors and settlers, enslaved Africans, and later immigrant communities. Long before European arrival, the continent was home to complex societies, including Andean civilizations with advanced agriculture, architecture, roads, and state organization. European colonization brought Spanish and Portuguese rule, forced labor systems, Christianity, new languages, and new political structures. Enslaved Africans were brought to parts of the continent, especially to plantation and mining economies, contributing profoundly to music, religion, food, and identity. The result is a region where culture is layered, blended, and locally distinct. Language reflects this colonial history. Today, the overwhelming majority of South Americans speak either Spanish or Portuguese. Spanish dominates most countries, while Portuguese is the language of Brazil, the largest country on the continent. But this simple division hides a richer reality. Indigenous languages such as Quechua, Aymara, Guarani, and many Amazonian languages remain important in different regions. English, Dutch, and French are also present in places such as Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Language in South America is therefore both a marker of colonial history and a living reminder that indigenous and local identities continue to shape the continent. Compared with many other continents, South America has experienced relatively few major interstate wars since 1900. That does not mean it has been free from conflict or suffering. Many countries have faced political instability, dictatorships, inequality, economic crises, and internal violence. High rates of violent crime remain a serious concern in some places, affecting daily life, governance, and international perceptions. Still, the continent's modern history is notable for the limited number of large wars between states. South America's biggest challenges today often involve development, security, environmental protection, democratic institutions, inequality, and balancing economic growth with the protection of extraordinary natural systems. South America is difficult to summarize because its identity comes from extremes and intersections. It is tropical and temperate, mountainous and lowland, coastal and interior, indigenous and colonial, urban and wild. The Andes, Amazon, Atlantic coast, southern cone, and Caribbean facing north all create different worlds within one continent. Its countries share broad historical patterns, especially Iberian colonization and the influence of Spanish and Portuguese languages, but each has developed a distinct identity. To understand South America is to see how geography shaped settlement, how history shaped culture, and how one continent can hold rainforests, glaciers, megacities, deserts, and some of the world's most important environmental and cultural legacies. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.